welcome back. This is Ocean Truth, and today we'll be talking about the algal bloom in South Australia again. Things are heating up. The oyster farmers have created a blockade and new closures being enforced on the wreck fishers, halving the bag limits. But first,
who feeds Australia when the generations give up? This is all about food security. So when coming into fishing, I learnt a lot from my dad. So I started a parentship with him where I went on the trawler with him for an 8-month period where he taught me all the ropes. I learned all about the diesel engine that we operate, the Gardner 6LXB, and what happens when shit happens. There was a lot of occasions where my dad would put us into a dire situation. He's saying that it was an accident, but in truth, I think he was just trying to put me in the shit of it. And we had to kind of learn our way through those sort of incidents. So what that has done is really taught me as a bit of a generational handover of skills and knowledge to really step up when I need to. So the other day I was out on the trawler by myself and the steering just shut itself. I lost full control of the trawler whilst the nets were down and I was heading into the rocks. Fortunately, because of the training that I had from my dad for that 8-month period and so on, I was able to quickly think, I need to get the nets up. First thing, get safe. So I brought the nets up and then I managed to get myself into a safe position where then I can then work on what the actual problem was, which was the steering. And it ended up being a hydraulic hose that had broken off. So a bit of hydraulic fluid just went everywhere, and eventually I kind of got back control of the ship and managed to bring it home. My brother did race out to me because I couldn't call the lifeline of my dad, but by the time he got there, I had it all sorted. For sure. So the question is, with these sort of generational industries where fathers pass on the knowledge down to their sons and daughters, mothers pass it down as well, if that's no longer happening and we're transitioning to this new technology, you've got the aquaculture, you've got the vertical farms and pretty much lab-grown everything. Is that really the future that we are going to rely on with food security? I personally believe that you can't remove nature from the equation. In my view, the wild fish, they kind of self-select the best waters to be in. They move, and that creates a reliance in themselves. Resilience. It creates a resilience amongst the fish stock. So whenever the waters are changing, heating up, cooling down, the salinity is changing, they move and they can really thrive no matter what. But when you put them in pens,
I believe it's intentional. I believe that the whole thing is orchestrated because our politicians are too gutless to stand up to the United Nations. All our rules and regulations are all written from above through our bureaucrats. None of our ministers or anything know the first thing about what they're talking about. So the generational thing it's been impacted from our fisheries, farming, timber industry, all those policies handed down by the government through the bureaucrats. It's all destroyed that generational outlook of our industry. And eventually if they keep going down this path, that's it's going to end up in a very bad way, which it already is, but it's just going to get worse. So we need to we need to stop this removing our commercial industry in favour of imported seafood. And the other things we need to stop is there's definitely a place for aquaculture, especially Australian-owned businesses in the aquaculture industry. I love it. I love capitalism. But we cannot have government prioritising and promoting aquaculture as a sustainable alternative to commercial fishing in this country. And while we're on that, instead of promoting this third-party certification garbage, how about the federal government and the state governments actually do their job and promote the fact that they've done the work? The stock status is there, it's sustainable, promote that. We don't need all of these third-party certifications to tell the consumer, hey, this industry's paid a lot of money to this organisation so that they can tell you what our government's already told us. That needs to stop.
Yeah, I believe food security does work best when nature does have a seat at the table, and yeah, we need to show that we are treating nature with care, us as commercial fishers. And yeah. Next up, the algae bloom in South Australia. Editor, play the clip.
About the origins of South Australia's harmful algal bloom. A microbiology expert claims it's not Chinese warships, desal or climate change, but fire retardant that's responsible for the marine disaster.
A distinctive red liquid known for saving lives during bushfires could be killing a marine life. At least that's according to this man.
I base my statements on evidence and science. Through the bushfires we had in New South Wales and Victoria, along the 2,500 kilometres of Murray River.
He says millions of litres of retardant dropped from the sky has leached into our waterways, creating an underwater graveyard.
I suspect that over time that has actually flowed into the Murray mouth and contributed to the high levels of phosphorus and nitrogen in the water.
But authorities aren't buying his theory.
No. Even though we haven't identified a specific cause, we know major ecosystem changes that can contribute to promoting an algal bloom.
Yeah, look, it's experts like that really drive me nuts. We don't know the cause, but yeah, what you're saying is wrong. I don't know that the fire retardant did cause this, and I'm not going to pretend to know. But to rule it out is just ridiculous. Obviously, it could play a role in causing an algal bloom, with the other factors, of course. This actually happened in New South Wales with the fire retardants from the RAF base, and they closed down the Hunter for years, and those prawn fishers and all the fishers in the Hunter River, they just had to not work.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, it's just ridiculous. But for experts like that to say, yeah, we don't know, but we know you're wrong, grow up.
Yeah, well, we are using a lot more chemicals and whatnot to put out fires. And one thing we have stopped doing is really the backburning. So I believe they're starting to bring them back in again, but there was a period where backburning was a no-go. And it was all the environmental push to, I guess, protect the koalas. But yeah, the people, the fireys that are doing these exercises where they're clearing the forest of all the ground cover with the backburning. They do it in a certain way that it stays in control. And they just move it and then they put it out. It's when you don't do that and let the forest grow to a point, that's when the wildfires happen, and you need to implement these strategies like these big planes coming and dropping these fire retardants to protect lives and to protect homes.
Yeah.
So let's go back on the drawing board to when we took care of the precursor to fires, which is doing the backburning, rather than being reactive all the time and waiting till the big fires happen and then having to put all these fire retardants and potentially having that onflow into the water systems. And as this guy has put forth, may have been the cause for the algae bloom.
Yeah. And I mean, others are saying it could have been the desal plant that's feeding all the
What
mines.
about the Chinese warships?
And the yeah. And look,
Could be anything.
Yeah. So, but I mean, for them to rule it out, it's just crazy. You just look into it, do your research, and figure it out. You just need to do better. I mean, that's for sure. But the oyster farmers have had enough, and we'll go to this clip.
With police on standby, a war of waters is ramping up at Haslam on the west coast. A line of utes blockading the approved delivery of oysters from algal bloom infected waters. Authorities say it's safe. The industry says it's not worth gambling.
Potentially, the brevetoxin and algae could be transferred with the oysters to another bay.
So there's been a risk assessment that's looked at the transfer of Carina, and it's been deemed manageable.
Meanwhile, in Adelaide's coastal waters, hope the harmful algal bloom could finally be vanishing.
There is a possibility that during the course of summer the algae gets worse, but equally there has been a possibility that the algal bloom starts to reduce very quickly.
In the last 3 weeks, the first very significant signs of it clearing. Not just the chlorophyll A graphs in decline, but Carina micomotoi cells almost gone too. At Henley Beach, last week was at 7.3 million. This week, just 50. At Glenelg, 3.9 million last week, now down to 0. A huge reduction at Port Noarlunga too.
This is not a set of numbers that we should get too excited about just yet. While this is positive and welcome, it does not mean that this is over.
We won't have a definitive picture of a true decline until there's additional indicators like a decrease in fish deaths and a reduction in brevetoxins in shellfish. But at this stage, there's no evidence of that. And with the pippy season opening on...
And I believe it was a Friday, a truckload of oysters did make it into the system. And it wasn't until the next day when the blockade happened, preventing an additional couple of truckloads transitioning from one bay to another, that kind of put a halt to that whole program. So, yeah, we'll see who wins that fight. You've got a large oyster farming business versus some of the smaller guys who are putting up a fight. And the government, once again, is right in the middle of it, saying, we think you'll be all right.
Yeah. So at the same time, we have the recreational sector up in arms because their bag limits are getting halved. Let's play this one.
Recreational fishers are angling for a fight after authorities announced plans to halve bag limits amid the ongoing algal bloom. They say they've been encouraged to go out and fish, only to be kicked in the guts.
For recreational fishers, casting the rods out this summer comes with a catch.
They won't take their boat out of the shed.
From November, bagging limits will not only be halved in Gulf St Vincent, where fish stocks are dire, but also on the Spencer Gulf, where fishing is expected to increase as a result.
Now we have really genuine fears that they've sort of killed our tourism for summer.
It'll mean maximum 5 whiting, 6 squid, 15 garfish and 10 crabs, amounts some avid anglers say won't be worth the trip, even with discounted registrations and free boat ramp access.
The boaties don't think they can keep their boat anymore. They're going to sell it because it's not viable for them to catch fish.
Who's going to come over and travel the way where you've got to travel to get 5 whiting?
The decision comes following an almost 300% increase in...
The commercial sector has been closed down completely to try and rebuild the stocks. Why are we only halving bag limits for the recreational sector? That just maddens me. I don't know how the government can justify that at all. If you want to rebuild the stocks, come up with a plan, rebuild the stocks. If you ban commercial fishing for a certain period of time, you ban all fishing. This whole preference for recreational fishing is just outrageous.
Yeah. What kind of gets me a bit is that I thought recreational fishing was a hobby. It's there for the enjoyment, there for the fun of it. And when they say that the 6 calamari and 5 whiting and so many crabs is not enough to put the boat in, well, yeah, I understand you're taking some fish, but how much fish do you need to make the hobby enjoyable?
Yeah, it kind of removes the hobby part.
Like recreational fishing is in the name. It's a recreational sport, a hobby for you to go and enjoy yourself. You're casting the line, you're pulling the fish out. That's the whole point of recreational fishing. And you do get to enjoy your take, but to a certain limit. Like, when you start taking more out of the water than you can consume, it's no longer a hobby, it's no longer a recreational. You're becoming more commercial because you're not just feeding you, you're feeding others around you and potentially offloading that fish in ways that you shouldn't be doing. So,
well, I mean, there's definitely that happening in New South Wales in the rec havens. I mean, that's guaranteed. We just saw last week with the prawn nets seized by fisheries. But yeah, look, it's ultimately I just don't think that's okay to talk about stock recovery by banning commercial fishing and only halving the bag limits for recreational fishers. If you want to recover the stocks, by all means, consult with the commercial sector, consult with the rec sector if you feel that's actually necessary. It is a hobby. Yeah, but don't just do one and not the other. Rebuild the stocks if you need to. Talk to the commercial sector and make it happen.
Just another hit to the population that tries to feed Australia.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Anyway, that's us for this week.
We'll leave it there.
Thank you.